right, time for a long overdue review. We got the Bullworker Iso-Flo here. This is actually a really interesting piece of equipment that bills itself very much as an isometric training device, which it certainly is, but it also uses the tools in here a number of different ways. So let's jump into this and explore. So the meat of the Iso-Flo is actually two of these. It's actually technically two pieces of equipment which are very similar to the ISO strap that you would see from WorldFit, where it's essentially strap with handles on both sides here. And these are the same handles that are on the Bullworker, the ISO bow. So I like these handles. They're a little bit on the narrow side, but I find them to be perfectly wide enough for pressing movements and stuff. And they have a really nice roll to them, great texture, good grip, and they feel pretty durable. So as far as like lightness and compactness, these are some of my favorite handles here. And they are situated on these stitched, very quality, and you can slide them up so you can have either a neutral grip or a regular style grip handle or everywhere in between. But one of the neat things that I appreciate out of this is the simplicity in design, where instead of having the two handles on two cam buckles and then you have the strap in between, one of the handles is fixed and non-adjustable, and the other one is on a cam buckle. So you only have one single cam buckle adjustment for the length of this, because the way you traditionally use the Iso-Flo is that you self-level and adjust for both handles to be the same height. So you only need one cam buckle adjustment. You don't need two. Cuts down on the size, the bulk, the weight, and the ease of adjustment while you're using it. Each of these nylon handle setups can be used individually by itself, which I use quite often. It's very good for things like around the back, chest presses. You can put it under a foot and do like isometric curls, lat pulls, basically anything you use with a standard ISO trainer. But what really is handy is it also includes this handy carabiner. This carabiner is a little bit different from what you might find at like a typical climbing shop, because it is perfectly smooth throughout. And what that does is it allows you to connect both of them together. And so you can bring the handles of one of the trainers around your feet. So instead of having a typical loop style where it's bringing your feet together and it's kind of a little bit awkward for things like deadlifts and really hard pulls, you now have each end of the trainer on each foot, and then you connect the two with this cam buckle. And then what that does is it gives you, one, a lot more control and versatility over the force you're applying underneath your feet, and two, it also gives you that ability to do the self-resistance exercises, things like the rear flies, you can do curls, pressing up one at a time. Self-resistance exercise is something I have very limited experience with. I haven't really played with it a whole lot, so I don't really have much of a valid opinion as far as the effectiveness of it, but it is kind of neat to have a system that's so versatile in its setup that you can use it for a number of things, not just the isometrics. Also included in the package is spiral bound instruction manual, which again I kind of like, as opposed to like a digital version that everybody does now, where they just kind of copy and paste some PDF and say, here you go, instructions. It's kind of the cheap way of going about it. Laminated, spiral bound, really easy to follow. You can set this on the floor, look at it while you're doing your exercises, lots of handy exercises, ideas, stuff, good place to get started. And then you also have of course, the Iso-Flo case. And this is a neat little touch. Once again, we've got something quality, zipper closure. All of this is embroidered in, it's stitched in. It's not like screened on with cheap inks or paints or anything. Nice candy little strap here. So the whole package is just really nice setup. Everything's quality. It seems to work closely together and stuff. But let's get into a little bit more of what it takes to actually use this thing. So from a basic isometric standpoint, this thing's as versatile as it comes. Any type of exercise that you can think of isometrically, you can do with this. Take any type of machine or suspension or body weight exercise, and you do the isometric equivalent with the Iso-Flo. It does take a little bit more setup though, as compared to the ISO trainer from WorldFit or the ISO Loop, also from WorldFit now, which are super easy, quick and simple to set up. This one does take a little bit more fidgeting and kind of practice to get the hang of it, because you are dealing with two separate pieces of equipment plus the carabiner. So I found that initially, at least, it was a little bit more cumbersome to set up, but once I kind of had a feel for where things were as far as relation to my body and everything, it was a lot easier. Plus, if you're just using one of the straps at a time, it's the same thing as the ISO trainer, and it's also a lot easier to set up just because it's got the one cam buckle of adjustment and you're ready to roll. But the best part about this is this thing is just one of those devices that has so much adjustment and so many potential ways of setting it up that you're kind of limited just by your imagination on what you actually use it for. Yes, it's great for isometrics. Yes, it's wonderful for self-resistance exercises, but I've even found myself using it sometimes as a makeshift suspension device, where you just throw one of the straps over something like a pull-up bar, clip on the carabiner, and now you've got a suspension style setup with a single anchor point that also has a little bit of that pulley style adjustment or single arm work that you can do, kind of like the pulley trainers that you see out there, so you get a lot of versatility there. You can also use this as a makeshift pull-up unit. So you just throw one end right up over the tree or an overhead anchor point like a beam, and then you adjust that cam buckle so you have the perfect height, and then you've got something that you can use for really good, convenient pulling exercises. You could do things like leg raises, perfect for travel because these things are super compact. They weigh next to nothing. So even if you don't take the whole ISO-Flo with you, just one of these is certainly something I would take on a trip, so that way I can use it at something like a park or even overhead rafters or something in a stairway for some pull-ups on the go. My overall impression of this is that the build quality is really high end. I appreciate that everything is stitched in. It doesn't feel like they took any shortcuts here, even though it is a very simple design. It's a quality made design. Plus, you have to consider that there's a lot of pieces that go into this. It's not one suspension trainer or one isometric trainer. It's technically two that you can use in far more ways than the classic or typical trainers that you would find out there. What this thing is in simplicity, it also has very much in versatility, and you can use this probably in more different ways than almost any other piece of equipment you may ever come across. So there you go, the Bullworker ISO-Flo. Link is down below in the description if you want to learn more. Let me know if you have comments and questions in the comments section, but ultimately a very simple, well-made piece of equipment that you can just let your imagination go wild and have a lot of fun with. Talk to you guys next time. Till then, be fit, live free.